This happened on, was it Monday night? It might have been Tuesday. So the way that this one came to be, so Nationals are in town, and that offense with the Nationals is real. That's a legit offense. It was really fun to watch. Nationals, they are like, they're kind of an easy team if you're watching it as a casual baseball fan. Like that's a fun team. CJ Abrams is having a great year. He's grown up since 2 years ago when he got suspended from his team for being at a casino on a day game till like the wee hours of the morning. He's grown up, and I love that. James Wood is gonna win an MVP in his career. He's gonna win one.
I know that's your guy. You love watching him.
I mean, he's 6'7" athletic. His parents are awesome. Like his comes from a family of girls where all the girls were better athletes than James. Like they all played basketball in college. They're Richmond Spire. Like that's a great family. Great story. The mom, Paula, is like, she's like this crazy doctor that goes and saves people in third world countries. Like it's just like a great family. So I'm a huge fan of James. But so here's what ended up happening. So Andres Chaparro, who is like just trying to survive at the big leagues, right? Like he's just trying to. He just had a great series in Sacramento, and in his first at bat against Kyle Freeland, hits a homer. Okay, and like here's a guy that like hits a homer. He's batting third. The way that the Nationals were using their offense, if there's any sort of swap, that guy gets, the DH gets pinch hit for in the fifth inning. So lefty starter, Kyle Freeland's pitching, third batter of the game, homer. All right, got it. And this was like multiple games in a row where Rocky starters gave up the lead in the first. So fast forward, next at bat, he hits a deep fly ball to center field, and Kyle Freeland is backing up third because that's where the throw is going to go. And Chaparro is rounding first, and as he's heading towards the Nationals dugout, he steps foot on the mound. And Kyle, because he was backing up third and is walking towards the mound, he sees him do that. And so Kyle takes exception to it, which I have never stepped on another player's mound in my whole life. I was taught at a young age that you do not do that. I had a high school coach that said, if you step on that mound, you're benched. Can't do that. So I said, got it.
Okay.
Because and we've seen, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that happens in the lower levels that like kids just don't know. Like they want to run over the mound. But as you get higher and higher, it's a sign of respect. You don't run on the mound. that's the pitcher's space. Just like I don't want a pitcher touching my bat or moving my stuff. Like, don't touch my stuff. So Kyle's basically going, hey, dude, you can't step on my mound. And then his post-game comment was actually really funny. He was like, hey, how are you doing? How's the family doing? But Kyle went, old man, get off my lawn. But it's also not old man, get off my lawn. It was a sign of respect. And Chaparro, in Kyle's mind, feels like he was disrespected because you hit a homer off me already, and now you're running across my mound. Like, you wouldn't do this to Paul Skeens. You wouldn't do that to Garrett Cole. You would never do that to Bob Gibson. So why would you do it to Kyle Freeland? Because his ERA is 7. So that's what ended up happening on Tuesday, and it's worth chatting about.
Yeah, Kyle has become that guy a little bit. What was it? The catcher for the Braves, Brian McCann, a sheriff of baseball. Yeah, someone that's going to make sure all the old school rules are followed. The problem with baseball is they have these unwritten rules because when people are, where is this written? It's not. It's just understood, and that's where it always gets murky. I want to be clear here and transparent. As I like Kyle, I like the way he competes. Everything about that competitive nature of him. Last year, when he took exception to Devers hitting that home run and losing his crap over it, I ripped Kyle. I thought it was totally inappropriate. The celly wasn't that long. It wasn't Carl Yastrzemski. It wasn't a college kid holding the bat. And Kyle's reaction was so over the top of, we got to respect our house or respect it. I'm like, 90% of the fans are rooting against you. It's not your house anymore. All this was lost. I just felt like it was just his frustration boiling over, that it was misplaced anger. I'm not saying Devers doesn't do stupid stuff. It's just in this case, it wasn't over the top. It wasn't Jose Batista throwing his bat, 30 feet in the air. It was just like, yeah, he looked at it for a second. It wasn't over the top. This, he has a point, because this is no. There's always a murky area on what's too much, what's exorbitant on a celebration. But when it comes to stepping on the mound, like, because I say, like, celebrations, it's like, well, it's like porn. You'll know it when you see it, when it's too much. In this case, we don't have to, we know what it is. You step on the mound, that's a no-no. And I think A-Rod's had this issue. A-Rod's done dumb stuff, yelling, I got it, on pop-ups as a base runner. He's done completely ridiculous stuff. But the kid looked like, Billy, and you're there, that he didn't know what he did wrong. And maybe he didn't. It's just hard to believe after hitting a home run. I equate it to, it's like a dog peeing on stuff, marking your territory. Like, I hit a home run off you, now I'm going to hit a long fly, now I'm going to walk over your mound. I mean, it's like the equivalent of a dog marking his territory. So in this case, I will defend Freeland, because, dude, you got all this space on each side of the mound. It's not a one-lane highway here. You can find your way to the dugout without coming over to the mound. Because my wife asked, she was like, we were watching, she was like, why is Freeland pissed off? And I'm like, because you step on it, it's a sign of disrespect. Plus, you could cleat where your foot stops. I mean, there's just any number of reasons. Like, that's the pitcher's area. Pitcher doesn't go up to walk over to your batter's box, but, come out to the field and just grind his cleats in the right-hander's batter's box as he makes a U-turn toward the mound. Like, it's just a respect situation. So, and last summer, I had issue with Kyle. I thought he totally overreacted to the Devers thing. In this case, I think Kyle's spot on. The kid has to know better. And he's young, he's surviving the league. I get it, but one of his teammates needs to pull him aside and say, dude, we don't do that here. That's Bush League. And Kyle, in this case, had a chance to be mad. Had a right to be mad.
And the thing is this Nationals team is the youngest team in baseball with a coaching staff. That's the youngest coaching staff in baseball with not a lot of major league service time. That might not have been a teaching moment within the Nationals. I'm not saying that it wouldn't have been, because there are guys that have been there for a while, but it might not have been. And even if you survey the rest of the league, like I do a podcast with Logan Webb, I asked him, I said, hey, what do you got on running over the mound if you're a position player? And he goes, honestly, Spilly, I probably wouldn't have noticed it. Like, I'm in my own zone. He's like, but if I saw somebody clearly running straight over the mound, I'd take exception. So it wasn't just Kyle Freeland, because he's wants to bark at people, just being that guy. He actually has, if you survey the rest of the league, they'd all say the same thing: get the hell off my mound. That's a sign of respect. And like, the best way, my analogy for it is, if you go golfing and somebody's at the tee and he's about to swing, you're not on your phone, you're not talking, you're quiet, right? Like, that's the etiquette of golf.
Sign of respect, the etiquette. Yep.
That's all it is. It was a sign of respect. Kyle felt disrespected. And I think that some of the results that he's had this year also leads him to be a little bit more sensitive to things, because he wants.
I agree with that. He's frustrated,
and he's frustrated. So that's kind of how this whole thing unfolded. All right, the last thing I want to get into is the second half. So Rockies went into the All-Star break having played a really good series against the Dodgers, and they were hoping that momentum was going to carry them into the All-Star break. They have a bad series against the Giants. They have the break. Cincinnati comes into town. Cincinnati takes his, ends up winning some games. And then, of course, it's this upstart Nationals team. Rockies don't play great in this series as well. Pitching's been okay. Gabriel Hughes looks great again. He had his second start at Coors. He's a dude. He's turning into a dude. But the defense was sloppy throughout the week. And I know for Warren Schaefer, for this group, I mean, this is right now they're back to the worst record in baseball. This has been a frustrating 10 days. Very frustrating, because it felt like they were cracking through something and now they've regressed. And that's also part of what's happening in Colorado. And you knew this was going to happen because it's just their margin for error is so slim to be able to be consistent.
Yeah, they got to be careful when you're a bad team. Sometimes I feel like when I watch them, like they win a game in a series, and it's like, okay, we let their guard down. They're not good enough to take anyone lightly. They're not good enough to assume anything. They got to be not someone's hair on fire, but there's got to be a competitiveness to them to give them a chance to win every night. They're not good enough to roll out there and roll out of bed and beat teams. They're just not. And they're dealing with what bad teams deal with, which is when you hit, you don't pitch. When you pitch, you don't hit. And the National Series bothered me just because it was sloppy baseball. We saw sloppy baseball. Losing is one thing. It's how you lose. And how they lost against Washington was a little unsettling. They're way behind early in games. I mean, it's like nobody's even settled into their seat, and it's 3-0. That we saw so much of the previous 2 years. You can't climb uphill like that. It just screws your offensive rhythm. Guys can't play as aggressive. It's so counterproductive to winning. And, they're not great off the mound early in games. They're not. And then you got a reliever in Herget who's struggling. Senzatella's got like an 11 ERA over the last month. So I want to say this. The progress has been real, but now is a chance, again, with this final 2 months, some of these guys that are going to be part of the core going forward, it's got to become real personal. I mean, you've got to, when you win a game in a series, it's got to matter to win the series, not win a game. Sometimes I feel like this team lets their guard down. And I'm gonna say something. I don't know that you will agree with this, but Warren Schaefer now has to grow up as a manager too and start holding some of these guys more accountable. Not necessarily in the media. I know everyone wants him to, rip somebody in the media, but at some point, Spilly, Tovar is going to have to go back to AAA and get his swing right. He's killing them offensively. And I don't want to hear the excuses about Tovy's our guy and Tovy's. It doesn't matter. At some point, when you're like a calendar year of this, it sends the wrong message to the rest of the clubhouse that you're just going to let this guy struggle to the point where, and I always still, like the players tell you, because he's lost offensively. So while you think you're doing him a solid by having his back, you only do that when the player still has confidence in himself. He does not look like a player who has confidence in himself. That's one thing. The second thing is, Schaefer, as this season goes on, if he wants to be part of this and more of a longer term, he's got to get better at managing the bullpen. And his ways and I get it, they're not great out of the pen, but he's got to also now stop being the old, well, this is what we use this guy, and this is how, no, we got to start trusting our eyes a little bit. We got to have a little bit more feel to this, because sometimes as a manager, and I don't know how you feel about this, Philly, you can steal a game by going against what the book says. And I think that's where Warren, for me, needs to start graduating to that. Don't be such a slave to the numbers and data that we can't say, hey, the guy last night, can we run him out again? I know what it says, but I know what my eyes saw.
Todd, Father, are you hitting some games this summer? What's the deal?
Oh, of course, and it's real simple. Scotty Braun, you know how it is. You go to SeatGeek and you can find any deal you want in any section you want. Even if the game's sold out, go to SeatGeek and you'll find something that you love, affordable for your family, that you can enjoy anywhere, anytime, at any ballpark and stadium you want. Enjoy it. It's the best opportunity to go see a beautiful game of baseball.
And that's the thing. You can be so last minute. SeatGeek is the official ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. They have you covered for all of your baseball ticket needs the entire summer. They also have over 70,000 events on SeatGeek. That includes concerts, festivals, all kinds of sporting events. So go check it out right now, FTFam. The code is Territory10 for 10% off your next set of MLB tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off with promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app, and then the code automatically is added to your account so you can use it later.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll do this in two ways. Let's start with Schaefer, and then I want to get to Tovar, because Tovar, I'm with you as far as some changes are needed there. When it comes to Schaefer, and I think there's plenty of examples in the last couple games where you're right. You can go to Friday night with Gabriel Hughes. He's 5 2/3, yanks him after a hit. Jimmy Herget comes into the game, two-run home run. That's the one where Gino Suarez has a funky swing and hits a home run.
Right.
That's one where I was like, man, especially with the pitch count being where it was at, I was like, I would have loved to have seen Hughes at least fight to get out of that inning. So there's one. Saturday, same type of thing. Sugano's cruising around. He's getting into the 7th inning. Hit, comes out of the game. Use that 77 pitches. Now we talked about this. Sugano was coming off the IL with some back issues, so I totally understand that one.
Right.
But there again, you're going quick. And then this week, it was Tuesday, and I feel like I'm picking on Jimmy Herget. I'm not at all. Jimmy comes in on Tuesday. It was about 28 pitches, was a struggle. And then you have a day game after the night game. Herget comes back into the game and does not have command at all, right out the gate. So first 3 batters, he walks 2 of them. That's where you go for the quick yank and go, all right, man, like I got a lot of pitches out of him yesterday. It looks like he's not sharp today. This is not being offensive to you at all. You did have a pretty full bullpen. They stuck with Jimmy, and then it ended up this inning unraveled in a hurry. So I hear that. I agree. There's been some, questionable decisions when it comes to the starters, pulling them out a little bit early. That I'd like to see that change up a little bit, just because we're at the point now of the season where, especially with some of these veteran pitchers like a Freeland, a Lorenzen, a Sugano, you can probably push him a little bit harder. And certainly in the case of Gabriel Hughes, he wants to be pushed. So I think that would help out the bullpen in your decision making, because if you're making decisions too soon, it has a cascading effect on usage of those guys day after day. So I agree with you there. Now the stuff on Tovar, this one's tough, right? Because Ezequiel Tovar is an elite defender. He's an elite. Now, there's been a couple times he's dragged his bat to defense. He made an error last week where he did not set his feet and just you could tell he was frustrated and threw it short. I think you're right. I think Tovar needs a mental reset. The numbers speak for himself. He's hitting 195. He's a negative win player. And not only that, his batting average on fastballs is like 150. He's not touching the fat, and it's gradually gone down since the last couple years. That's all swing. That's his swing right now. It's really steep. He's not touching the upper part of the strike zone, and then he's in between. So he's not even close to hitting an off-speed pitch. It's hard to watch, honestly, because he is one of the best humans you'll ever meet. This guy is awesome. Awesome off the field. Great dad, great husband, beautiful human, always has a smile on his face, kind of has like Cargo's personality behind the scenes. It's been hard. And so you do have Willie Castro who can play short. I'd also like to see Cole Carrig at short for a little bit, and just to see.
Exactly.
Just to see.
Why not?
And see what happens. See if he can kickstart Tovey, because you need to have him. Otherwise, you start getting into the spot where, there's multiple years left on his deal. Is this something where you package up a young starter or a young reliever with Tovar to another organization? I don't know. But you're kind of in that spot right now where Tovar's value is really low. And he needs a boost. Like, if I could give him a hug and fix him overnight, I would have done that 3 months ago, because I love him so much. So I'm with you. I think you're probably really close to getting him optioned down.
I mean, I learned from covering big leagues as a young writer, where you look for signs. And I had a former manager tell me these are things, and scouts tell me, but it's some of this stuff, and you lived it as a backup guy. Like when you have a right-hander on the bench and they bring in a lefty, and they don't go to you to pinch hit. Like, it's the manager's telling me without saying it, we don't believe in the guy. And so I was like, okay, that guy's probably getting sent down here soon, because this was the place he should have hit. And you see it all the time with relievers. 7th inning, lefty up, where's our lefty? And all of a sudden they pass him over like twice. You're like, okay, something's going on beyond the stat. They're going to send him down. With Tovar, he's starting to get subbed out of games in the 7th inning. That's, to me, was like, okay, obviously you don't value his defense enough to just leave him in there. And Castro's functional. I mean, most guys, and it's not fair to Castro, but I mean, most guys who play shortstops in the big leagues are functional defenders. You can't play that position and be a butcher. You just, be Edward Scissorhands at shortstop. But he is elite. Tovar is elite when he's right. and he's still been good defensively. I don't know what the metrics say. I don't think he's what he was a couple years ago, but he's still good. But it's not enough to the point where I'm pinch hitting for a guy. He went from hitting top of the order, now he hits routinely ninth, and I'm pinch hitting for him. I mean, to me, again, if I saw him lining out and all the metrics were like, God, he has been so unlucky. He should be hitting 238 with this. None of the metrics show that. In fact, the deeper you dive, the worse it looks. And so I always, when I coach kids, Billy, it's like, I will always have confidence in you. I'm going to advocate for you, but you got to believe in yourself. I can't make you believe in yourself. And when I watch him at the plate, having covered big leagues for a better part of 15, 20 years, he just looks like a guy who's lost. I've seen that look. It's the worst place to be. You used to tell me about, man, you are caught in between, and every at bat, it feels like 0-2. And he's in a lot of those counts because he swings early in so many counts. So I just think for his good and for the good of the team and the message you send to the locker room, I wrote this about Jolie Shashin years ago. They sent him down. It just and he came, he was pissed. Why are you writing? They sent me down. And I'm like, Jolie, you need to go down. Get away from the spotlight and get your stuff right and come back. Like, you can't fix it here. And he did. Not that I was right, but you know the point. Sometimes you just need to get away from the glare of the big leagues. Go in Albuquerque, go in Sugarland, go in Oklahoma City, where there's some of those places there's 1,000 people in the stands, and just focus on your stuff and get right and take a deep breath. Bring him back up September 4th. That's why I do it now. Give him a month's worth of AAA at bats, where he goes and just gets really hot. Then bring him back, and then we go into next season and we get him hot and he's our guy. Or we get him functional and we think we might move him. But this is not working. And I don't think it's fair at this point, it's not fair to him or the team.
No, yeah, you're right. Look, Dexter Fowler got sent down in the minor leagues.
Yes, and he was pissed at me for writing that too.
Yeah, but he ended up saving his career. I mean, like those things, if you end up failing over and over and over again at the big leagues, you tend to start thinking that that's who you are. You're like, well, I guess
Correct.
I'm just not good enough. You go down to the minor leagues, you get that boost and you're hitting 300, or maybe you do struggle and you continue to struggle and you're hitting 200. You're like, God, I really stink. I really have to do something different. Well, that spurs that change. But sometimes you just go down to the minor leagues, take that pressure off. You start destroying pitchers down there and you're like, oh, wait, I'm actually good at this game. It's like, hold on a second. You feel better about yourself. This is where that you could use that. That's why the minor leagues are so important. And that's not saying that like the guys at the minor leagues are garbage and you're just going to go beat them up. But if you are better, if you truly are a big leaguer, you should have success at the minor league level. You should. And if not, like that's, again, you're trying to figure out your swing. So I'm with you. I think we're at that spot where they have to be considering it because I mean, it's hard to watch. It's hard to watch. And he's too much a part of the culture, and the team is better when he's right. They got to get him right. They have to figure it out. So,
correct. Well, remember Freeland got sent down. Well, when did Kyle get sent down like 3-4 years ago? He got sent down. I mean, and he is coming up a couple years removed from nearly winning a Cy Young. I mean, it can happen, and it's weird and it sucks, but I just don't see how keeping him up here is going to solve it at this point for him. I mean, just take the team out of it, which I don't. I mean, I want to do best by him, and I just think getting him out of there to go hit and relax, work on stuff. And if you go 0 for 8 because you're working on stuff, who cares? Nobody cares. You do it at the big leagues, you're losing games, and it's a hard thing. So I hope that's got to be a card they have to play, right? I mean, we can't be crazy. It's got to be a card that they're at least considering to play.
Well, and I like I said, I think it's really close. So Rockies start up a series against the Milwaukee Brewers in Milwaukee, pair of lefties the next 2 days. And then on Sunday, it'll be Kyle Freeland against Jacob Mizorowski, which that is crazy. It'll be the second time that the Rockies have faced the Miz in a season where he's on his way to possibly win a Cy Young. So Rockies will have their hands full this weekend, but it's also such a good test to just watch how the Brewers play baseball, because when you watch them, you're like, how are they doing that why can't we do that? And that's the answer. It's like, why can't we do that? Yeah, you can. You just choose not to.
Well, and you'll love this, Billy. I saw on ESPN this morning, The Miz is on track to hold hitters to the lowest OPS since the ERA was invented in 1913. I mean, he's historically having the greatest season of all time. I mean, they slow pedal his last start, right? Because of he's coming off of arm fatigue, so he only threw like 55 pitches, or was that two starts ago?
So what happened with the Miz was they pushed him off his start, and then he got to the All-Star break. They didn't let him pitch in the All-Star break or the All-Star game, and then when he came back, he was, Pat Murphy was like, he could not. He was rusty. He was rusty. So part of it was, I mean, like he's gonna definitely blow past his innings from a year ago, and this Brewers team is expecting to get to the World Series. You're somewhat slow playing his innings, the amount of pitches he's throwing, but at the same time, it was like 9 days in between starts, and he was just rusty. So that makes it a little bit scary for Sunday, because if the rust is off and he is fully rested, having just thrown 55 pitches, he might touch 108.
That is just, I mean, I remember when Chapman came into the league and it was 103. I mean, you're like, because I covered Rocker and Wohlers and Billy Wagner. I mean, guys that just now, I mean, the idea, a guy he's throwing 105, 106 on the routine, it's just like, wow.
It's crazy. All right, so that will do it for us today on the Mile High Territory. Troy Rank and Ryan Spielborgs, and we'll look forward to catching up next week.